Hey there, I'm Tracy Spears, speaker, author, coach, co-founder of Exceptional Leaders Lab, and your host today for Shift Out Loud. I am super excited to introduce you to my guest, Greg Hawkes. Now, I have a very long, incredibly impressive, amazing bio that in the pre-show, he said, do not read. I'll read you the short version, and it is.
Shift.
Greg Hawkes shapes environments where everyone gets to contribute their best daily. His leadership portfolio is packed with love and service, while his energy and optimism are contagious, as you will see in just a moment. And here today, he'll challenge us to think new thoughts, ask better questions, and really just have a great time. So that is a super part. Listen, so welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so grateful to get to be here. I love everything that you're doing, so I'm excited to be a part of it.
Thank you. And tell us where you're sitting right now. You are not. Where are you?
I'm in just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I keep finding myself up here. I have for some personal reasons, and I've got a business coach, which I've never had before. I shifted this year, and I went. It's the funny thing, Tracy. You can appreciate this. I went to the NSA conferences, the national speakers, and nothing really struck me. But I was talking to a colleague in the hall, and she said, started using this guy as a coach. He wasn't even there. She's like, he does systems. He's really great with structure. And I'm like, I could probably use some systems and structure in my life at this season of where I'm at and how things are going. And so I just randomly emailed him. And so we've been engaged for 3 months, and we just wrapped it up. And so I've come up here and met his house. There's a great pancake place up here that makes these really thin pancakes. Are the best little pancakes I've ever had. And so we wrapped it up, and now I'm just engaged starting tomorrow for like a year-long plan with him. So we did 3. So I'm a big fan. He's been great for my team. And so I'm trying to come up here and just like be around him, spend time with him. So it's just fantastic.
Oh my gosh. So 3 months into this. So a guy like you gets a coach, which is
I've never had one. I've never had a
shocking because you are crushing it by a lot of measures. And I always think of that iron sharpens iron. So the fact that you're working with a coach, what's been the big kind of aha for you in 3 months?
So he gave us these tools. He calls them tools. There are 3 different Excel spreadsheets. One's a focus, one's a marketing, and one's a numbers. And so as the owner of the company, one of his stated goals, he has 2 goals. One of them is increase our business and increase my personal monthly income. So I'm like, you can't go wrong with this. Yes, as the owner, I like that. So I have several big takeaways. One is he does everything on 30 days. When it begins, no matter what, so I'm tracking like deals we booked. I just closed. Somebody just called and said, yes, we're going to do a thing. We like to usually have a contract or a deposit. He's like, no, you track that, you put it in. And so you set a monthly optimistic number, you just track it right then. So, but then he's like, at the beginning of the month, you reset to 0, begin all over. There's no like accumulation. It's like every 30 days is your life. The thing is, he's all about 3 seeds a day. You planting 3 seeds a day, text, phone calls, email, reaching out to people, no matter what, 3 seeds a day, which I didn't have that daily practice. And it's still a habit forming because I was on the road like 10 days and I was like, dude, it just knocked me out. And literally, so we were with my team and he was like, I can help you with that limiting belief, Greg. I can help you with that. Please do, Mark. Please help me with that. Because when I travel, I'm just kind of like, I'm just in with the client and I just shut the rest of the world out. And so that's been really great. And he has just a really interesting aspirational approach of setting a goal. And he's like, listen, so this is his story. He said, I have a monthly goal I've hit every month for 8 years.
What?
And I was like, well, you must not be setting a high goal or something. I was like, literally, I need to understand. And they're like the things, and one of his magical approaches is he's like, listen, I have come to a place where I like have benchmarks and I have things I want to do. But when I hit this goal, he said, when I hit this goal every month, I don't ever raise it. Like, that's what I want to do. And so it's like, instead of hitting X amount of dollars a month or X amount of pieces of business a month, he's like, I don't then add one more the next month or another one he's like, that's the goal. I want to do it. And I'm very content with what it creates in my life. So he has all these little things that are like a little counterintuitive on like business growth. but he literally wrote a book on growing your business. And so he works a lot with consultants, coaches. He says he rarely works. I do primarily keynotes. I've got a little bit of, I don't do coaching. Like I'm on that. I just don't have the temperament for it. I'm like, I'm not your mama. You should know better. Like, do what you need to do. Like, that's all I got. That's my coaching. That's all my coaching in a nutshell. Do what you know to do, man. So with him, it's been really great. He's like, he doesn't know we're keynote speakers, but because of the way I've just shifted, I'm going to just go into some of the stuff I shifted. Can I do
Do
that?
it.
I know you
Do
can
it.
ask another question. I'm just talking.
Do it.
Tracy, you don't need to ask questions. Just go and I'll just start rambling.
Well, I am going to reel you in for a minute because I do want to say this. Everybody now knows 7 minutes in that you are a keynote speaker and that
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I want to say this, you're one of the most enthusiastic people I've ever met, but keynote speakers, I follow you as you know, and I watch, I wonder, one of my questions is going to be, and I'll ask now, how many costumes do you have? And
Well,
because you're
they have
always in a
grown.
costume,
They have grown over the years. You want to give you history on that? Because that's one of my big shifts.
do it.
So for a decade, I ran a faith-based nonprofit to work with teenagers. So it was like a summer camp. We had 64 acres, slept over 800 kids a week, do all summer long. And so I spent a lot of time with teenagers and speaking to teenagers. And that's one of the reasons I think I have constant juju. And it's another reason that I have lots of costumes is because I did a lot of creative, visual kind of things with young people. And then when I shifted into the marketplace, like all of my messaging kind of changed, but obviously my personality didn't. And I found with adults, they're pretty captivated by a good costume as well. And so that was back in 2009, I made that shift from nonprofit to for profit. Took a couple years to like subcontract. I just hung around the state working with people, and then really shifted into what I'm doing now. Our first website went online like January of 2014. So I had a good little run of where I was subcontracting, doing consulting, and doing work, but I didn't have like a presence. And so that was a pretty major shift because I had this whole history of nonprofit and then going into the for profit. Um, Challenged my beliefs on what I thought I was contributing into leadership and all the things I'd grown to understand and working in that world, and bringing it over into a world that doesn't necessarily equate the nonprofit sector with the same values and principles as the for-profit sector. And so that was a really interesting transition for me to create value and offer things that were meaningful. But a lot of that came out of that. And I've got a couple clients that we just do stuff. And so every year I'm kind of part of the creative team. And so we just make stuff up. And I'm like, well, I gotta go all in on
Pirate.
this. And so, yeah, so we just did Pirate Case Associates. They do the most creative things. They did last year a space theme that we did that they just build the best sets. Like they're just the most fun events to be a part of. And this year that we did go from Oklahoma City to Tulsa. And so last year we're down at Vast, like we've been down there the last couple years. And then we did Shangri-La this year
Nice.
out. Man, that place is updated,
Yep.
nice. Like it came back to life. It kind of dwindled. And I'm like, now it's beautiful and really, really, really nice place. So yeah, that conference was great. So it was nautical. They called it, first we went to this pirate and then it was nautical. And so I kind of did like a steampunk. That's what I was going for this time. Kind of a steampunk version of a pirate.
Of a pirate. Well, listen, so as somebody that does a lot of keynote speaking as well, I never want to follow you ever because I don't, because of all that energy. And although I could ride in your wake a bit, I think
Yeah,
without that
exactly.
flair, but there would be an epic crash about 38 minutes in, you'd have to run it. And I don't want to be part of that. So,
All right.
cool. So tell
I
me,
listen, I would love to follow in your wake anytime, Tracy.
Yeah.
Anytime.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And I'm surprised we have not shared the stage because we do run. I looked
Yeah.
at LinkedIn and we share like 500 connections. I'm like,
That sounds about right.
isn't that crazy? Like, I don't
Yeah.
have 500 connections with anybody else. So that made me giggle when I saw that.
That is funny.
So when you look back, so this shift, and when did you know you were made for the stage? So you said you were, you were
Yeah.
in the nonprofit. What makes you say, "Oh my gosh, I've got something that I have a message that I have to deliver"? What do you remember? That was there somebody that said something to you that gave you confidence, or did you always know?
No, well, I didn't always know, but I've been confident for a long time. Like I grew up in a town called Ashland, Ohio. About 20,000 people in town, like one high school, one middle school, two elementary. And my junior year of high school, in between, I tell this story. It's like it's a light music changed my life. In the summer of '86, that dates me a little bit.
I got you.
I went to the Flats in Cleveland and saw the Violent Femmes in concert, and I love the Violent Femmes. And so, uh, and I saw all these people around, and I was like, "Who and what is this world?" Bunch of punks, bunch of just alternative kind of people. Of course, 1986 was like it was just awesome, and I'm like, I want to be that. So I went home. We literally got out this dippity doo green, spiked up my hair, took a dog collar off my friend's dog, put it in, and my whole junior year, I spiked my hair. I wore like a jean vest. It was like the Ramones, Dead Kennedys, Sex Pistols. Like I had all these. The Clash was my ultimate favorite. And I had like a white band around my arms, like my protest band. Whatever needed protested, I got a band for it. And I was literally the only person in the school. I was the only punk, if you will. I was like a friendly neighborhood punk because I was like I wasn't like dark and emo and going with the Smiths and all that. I was like, I don't need any of that. I'm like a pretty happy guy. I just love this vibe. And so here's what I realized that year. It was the best year of my life because it was like people are afraid of like what other people experience. So I had this epiphany and really this life experience where I was embraced in every people group. Literally, like I was an unknown entity in my little high school. My sophomore year, my junior year, I knew everybody and everybody knew me. And I was like, if this is what it's like on the other side of fear, I'm going to keep doing this. And so literally it has been the pivotal point in my life for the rest of my life. And so then with that, I probably went to conferences and I saw people every now and then. Um, but I didn't have like a message. I just wanted to use my life to make a difference kind of thing. I'm 52 now, Tracy, 52. So I've been alive a long time. There's different seasons and different ways to make a difference. So, but I've been speaking for a long time.
And in that, so you make that decision, you have that experience, you start to get on stage. I'm
Hmm.
sure if you were like me, it was clunky, but you were
Yeah.
still like, well, but it went okay. So I think I'm gonna keep doing it. That was my introduction in speaking. But my introduction was different than yours in that I was super shy about it. And so,
Really?
yeah, for
Then
sure.
why did you aspire to do it? That seems
I know.
counterintuitive.
Yeah, no, I didn't aspire to do it. Like first time somebody put a microphone in my hand, I was 22.
Hmm.
And I like didn't say a word. And she's like, you need to like Tracy Spears. And I was like, yeah, you didn't tell me I was gonna have to speak. And I didn't say a word. And so I'll tell you that whole story later. And Cindy Bristow, who is gonna be on the podcast,
Uh-huh.
I'm interviewing her later this week. We're gonna tell that whole story. But I was reluctant. And had she not said, listen, the next time it was a softball clinic is what it was. We were teaching softball coaches. It wasn't even a speaking gig, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she said, if I already bought your plane ticket. Like, if you show up next week and don't use the microphone, you're fired. And so I was like, I literally got off the plane, Greg, and bought Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence.
Yeah.
Because like that was
All
the
right.
only book, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna read to be a speaker?
Yeah.
Like, right.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's turned out okay for
It
me.
turned out all right.
Yeah, it's turning out okay now.
Did you enjoy it immediately? Like when
Now
you actually did it and you get feedback, you're like, all right, I guess so.
no, no, and no, it took me a while. I was a slow study. But I will tell you what I loved. I love the experience of saying something that shifted somebody or somebody goes, I'm going to use that. I was a sales trainer for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
most of I grew up on stage within the confines of an organization where I was a sales trainer. So
Yeah.
my audience was always friendly. They were salespeople that
Yeah.
I helped
On the
hire.
same team. This
Yeah.
lady's trying to help me make more commissions. I should
Right
listen
here.
to her and like her.
That's right. But that transition, I mean, do you still get nerves when you are on super? That's one of my questions. What's the biggest stage you've been on? And do you still get nervous? I'm going to stack on you there. Sorry about that.
Well, let me say this: the biggest stage wasn't the stage or the people, but it was just this past year. It was a very strange landing of a piece of business, but it was Coca-Cola, Latin America, all the leaders of Coca-Cola in all of Latin America, and the owners of the bottling companies. So bottlers, all in Latin America, which was maybe 200 people, right? So it's not a massive, but who they were and what they were was in Buenos Aires. It was in Buenos Aires, which I'd never been, and and I'd never spoken for Coca-Cola. Like, they're a pretty big deal. And so and we had a language barrier. They literally had like the booths there where people had it and their people are talking literally right. I could listen to them right next to me before I went on stage. And so I rarely get nerves. Like, I sweat ferociously. It's just I get so excited. Like, I am literally always excited about getting out there. And so because I really think I have something to contribute, because I've done it enough where I'm like, these people in the audience are just people. Like, they're just people. Whether they like me, don't like me, it's on them. I like them. I start out liking everyone. And so that's my disposition. So I'm already gonna have a good time. But the folks in like the Coca-Cola was like, it's an entirely different culture, different language. And when I got down and I learned a lot about the bottlers and the relationships. It's kind of this codependent relationship, but Coca-Cola also kind of dictates how their business it's a very interesting dynamic, and it works for everybody when it works. But Coca-Cola just shifted from 4 regions to the one, and so they were taking some levels out of communication relation. So it was a very kind of
Mhm.
challenging season for everybody there. And so my nervousness was like, I feel rather incompetent
Yeah.
in this world with these people at this level. Like, it was the
Well,
entire, continent of South America and some of lower North America, like everything Latin American. So
what was
that
your
was the
message?
most recent.
What was your message that day?
I did a mashup message, and I've never done it before. Haven't done it since. I had 50 minutes, and I was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I I do this. I have this trust evolution, and I talk with leadership, and I'll incorporate it sometimes with clients I haven't done anything with before. But normally it's people I've done something with once or twice, so they know me. But I do this mousetrap exercise where I take mousetraps, I'll tell you all of it, but it's a trust exercise, and it has some incredible insights in it, and I love it. And so I was like, I want to make an impression on and when we talked, so the dynamic of trust was like a strong, they were having, and they were like, we need these bottler owners to trust us. And so I was like, well, I've got a thing on trust, but it's a little more teachy than motivation, inspiration, like even compelling. So I said, well, I'm going to just tuck this into another one of my messages and so I literally brought people on stage, blindfolded them, and had them do this mouse thing during my message. And I'd also, if I'm not mistaken, I did like my navigate, which has a raft, so I have a raft, I give away a raft and always do that. So I had like the raft on stage, I had these mouse traps, and it was like a mashup message. So I was a little bit nervous also about that because
Yeah.
I've never done that before. I haven't done it since. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm in Buenos Aires. I'm with Coca-Cola. I'm either gonna go for it. Like, I'm just like, I'm just gonna have it. I'm gonna go give it something I've never done and hope it works out rather than kind of play it safe.
Oh my god.
So
I don't even have to ask you how it ended because I know it had to go beautifully. Yes.
it was startling because the room had like a low ceiling. Like, I didn't show you the picture of it, like a very technologically, like the whole back wall was a screen, like the stage was 6 inches, just felt, and they had like odd chairs. It was a very interesting room. And by 3 o'clock, they were all a little
Yeah.
zoned down. And
Sure.
so they like end the whole day ended with me. So it was really fun actually to have them come up because I don't speak Spanish. And so someone would speak to me and then others come and interpreted. They were all very energized and I was grateful because I did feel like I was taking a risk. Like I was like, I'm not sure how this is gonna play out. And I met with the people, even I was bringing up on stage, and I didn't tell them what they were getting into. I was like, I just need you to trust me. I'm gonna have you come up. I got some blindfolds, I got some mouse traps, and this thing's happen really fast. It's like a 10-minute segment of this 50-minute message, and it was a
No,
lot of fun. But
nice.
it was probably like I don't really get nervous, but it was, and usually feel relatively competent, like in what I'm doing. And I was confident about my message. I work to understand their world. It's just so different,
Yeah.
than what I'm used to in any kind of industry. And so that was probably the thing that was most nerve wracking. It's like hope this, I hope this makes sense for you all and fits in your world. So that was the nervousness about it, not so much my own sense of uh, concern.
What's the stage you haven't been on yet that you wanna be on?
Listen, I spend so much time in the SHRM world. It literally took me 10 years to get in the national SHRM's event. I had like a morning breakout, but like a mega session, they call it. So it had like 1,500 seats in it, but it was at 7:30 in the morning. So those 1,500 seats did not get filled in. There's like 20,000 people at this conference. So I definitely would love a main stage on there, simply because I just have so many friends in that world, and I spend a lot of time. And I'll be back up here next week. I'm speaking at the Wisconsin SHRM, and so we've decided one of my objectives is over the course of the next 3-4 years is to speak at every other state SHRM conference that I haven't spoken at because I've done over 20 state and kind of regional in the SHRM world. Some of them have combined, and some of them are like a tri-state thing, and so I just have a lot of great friends in that space, and so I that would be the ultimate right now, and it literally has 20,000 people in the room, so I'll have to have a really killer book. I'll have to or go viral somewhere on something, because they just don't have, just normal people out there.
But it is
And not
hard.
that I'm a normal person. You know that Arcade Fire song? I never met a normal person.
It is hard to get on. I've never spoken there. I share that with you though, that to be on the big stage there would be pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
For yeah.
yeah,
I need to be referring you more. I'm listening to you and like there's times when, as you know, I can't go or you can't go
yeah,
and that we need to be better. We being
yeah,
collectively, I do like, try to I have some local Kuma. I'm always recommending Kuma, Nancy Gunter, and some of the,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
uh,
know those people. I
yeah,
love them.
yes. Yeah, well, they are.
Okay, so what about you? What are you aspiring towards in this
Well,
season of your life?
in this season of my shift right now is I'm writing a book, or it'll be the third book. So I wrote one with Wally Schmader, wrote two,
Mhm, mhm.
actually three, because we
I
have
was gonna say, I thought you had a bunch of books with
okay,
him.
well, we did, and so I'm trying to do a solo book. So is he. So we're kind of doing a little bit of
Really?
a solo. We're not breaking up the band or anything. I'm just
Is it any kind of competition? Like a competitive, like, "Wally, let's
no,
just see how I do without your name on the book, sucker."
yeah, no, no, it's exactly the opposite. He said something to me at the when we were doing our goal setting. He said, "Yeah, let me just tell you my biggest worry for you is that you're not gonna do it." And I was like, "What?" So, like,
Yeah,
but he's amazing and has always been my biggest fan and has been
yeah,
cheering me on for a couple of years, and so,
yeah,
and I think there's a part of him both of us are like, "Well, I'll do it if you do it because because our energy is in building this exceptional leaders lab."
yes,
So that's the big thing right now, though, is we've gotten to that place where it's an add to and not a take away from. For us both to be a little bit bigger on that. Mine's more personal. I mean, he doesn't want to have his name on a book where I'm talking about me in third grade, right?
yeah. Well,
So
and you put my name on it. I would
yes,
happily associate with 3rd grade Tracy.
very nice. That is
That's what
great.
I've got actually a friend that's a 3rd grade teacher, and that's what we always joke about is I've got 3rd grade energy. Like, that's it. Like,
You
I live
do.
my life with a 3rd grade energy.
You do. You know what's funny about the third grade? All of my stories, I'm in the third grade. Like anything before the age of 12, I was like, well, I'm in the, when I was in the third grade. And like, I'm like, I look back and go, why? I guess that was, I don't even know how old you are in third grade, but I know.
8 or 9, 9 or 10, 8 or 9, 9 or 10, something like that. Like Mrs. Reinhardt, I'll never forget it because it was the best. I went to Grant Street School in Ashland, the elementary school. My dad went to it. My grandma went to it. It was like the oldest elementary. Then Ashland University knocked it down a decade or so ago. And Mrs. Reinhardt was my kindergarten teacher, and then she moved up to 3rd grade, and she's my third I was like and I loved her. I was in love with her. So she had like a I don't it'd be appropriate, but she had like a reading teepee, and we you'd people would get in, they had like circles, you'd go in and read in there as a little and it was fabulous. I loved 3rd grade. Loved 3rd
Wow.
grade.
You had a different experience than I did.
I haven't heard you
Leave it
didn't
at
have Mrs.
that.
Reinhardt. That was the problem, Tracy.
That's exactly the problem. So how do you get to Tulsa? How do you get to Oklahoma from? So yeah, I don't even know that story.
Okay, that's yeah, I mean, it was 30 literally 30 years ago. I moved when I was 19 or 20 because I went to an audio production school in Orlando to do because I loved music and it shaped my identity, and so I wanted to be a part of creating it, and I'm not musically inclined at all.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say because
Not
I
at all.
because on
I'm
the
not
weekends I jam.
I can't sing, I can't play. Working this out, doing live and studio, and I met a guy in from Oklahoma City, and I was living in Cleveland at that point. And so I went back to Cleveland. This was 1990. So I went back to Cleveland. They came, he and his wife. I mean, we were 20, 20, 21, 20 or 21, and he came out here, and they had an opening in a studio out here. At that point, uh, I was single, living in a basement in Strongsville, Ohio, and I was taking the train to downtown. I was working at a studio in downtown Cleveland at that point, and it was just like, I got nothing else to do in life. I'll just move to Oklahoma. That sounds like fun. And so I moved out here, got connected with him, and then all the progression of relationships and opportunities and all kinds of things just moved me on. And so been there for 30, whatever. What are we in? 32 years.
Mhm.
32 years in Oklahoma.
So when
Yeah.
did you open the agency, Greg Hawk's agency? Tell me more about that.
That happened well, the shift, like I said, in 2009, the end of 2009, I shifted and I was doing like relational training, soft skills type things, and I was doing subcontracting. And so I got connected with a great company in Oklahoma City called Public Strategies, became fast friends with a guy named Jack Myrick. His sister Mary owns Public Strategies. And Jack and I did these for a couple years. Like he and I were a team going into businesses and at tech schools because the way Public Strategies work is a for-profit company, but they worked out of grants. So they had all these DHS grants. So it was all public money. So all of the things we offered were free for anybody in the state because it was grant money. And so I did that for a couple years, and I love Jack. He's entirely different than me. Like he's 10 years older, just as paced and calm. And I was like, and so he and I would do these like 6 hour, like 9 to 4, hour. And they were just the best. I'd go an hour, he'd go an hour, and I just had so much fun with him. And then he was like, "Hey, our grant monies have changed." And I was going to the HR conferences. At that point, I was like, I need to find places to just get myself in where because nobody knows me, and I just need to get in. So started OKH and the SHRM conferences, all of them at that point, you just had breakout sessions that anybody could apply for. And so I just started doing that, and I would just fly to Arizona, fly to Virginia, and I would go to other ones. I'd go up to Kansas and just do breakout sessions. I was like, I'm my best marketing. So I was doing all this stuff with Jack that was paying the bills. And but then I was out trying to get in front of people and thought, and I'm a pretty aggressive networker. So I'd be like, who's in charge? How does this work? I want to get on keynote. Like I'd be like, how does this work? So in Oklahoma, it was Lindsay Nichols. And so I met her for the first time, and then I just started stalking her, and we've been fast friends ever since. And she's like, I'm her favorite stalker from all those years ago. That she's done a next step, and that she's just fabulous. But then I kind of learned how the whole thing worked, and then got a little more thoughtful about targeting people. And so that's what I'm saying with I did the subcontracting stuff for a couple years, was building relationships, was doing a consulting piece around culture, and then the website. So once the website came on, I already kind of had a little clientele list in the SHRM world and in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa. So that's how I started making my way up the turnpike and again, I'm like, I'll just drop by people's offices. I'll just show up unexpectedly
I don't
and
even know how we met, but we said we had coffee, and then I was looking.
Tracy, I loved you. That's how we met. And I said, I want to insert myself into this woman's life because she's much cooler than I am. She's writing awesome books. She's an incredible communicator. Tracy, I'm going to be in your world now. That's how that works. I just put myself in people's paths and go, I like you and you're better than me in almost every way. Let me be around you.
Not
That's how that
cheating.
worked. I just reached out to you and said, I come to Tulsa a lot. Can I take you to coffee sometime?
Yes. Well, it was an easy yes. And then I was looking, and then you were like, I have a new website. Look at my website. I was like, fantastic.
Story of my life. Every other year, I'm putting out a new website. I got to
Yeah.
keep myself onto something.
But your website is so good. Tell me, like during that time, when do you bring your first employee on? And are you full? Tell me about your team now, because you keep saying
Okay,
my
because
team.
it's a big shift.
Yes.
Listen, it's a shift because since 2009, basically, I started hiring in 2016. I hired somebody to do prospecting, fired him in 2000, end of 2016, hired somebody in 2017, fired him at the end of 2017, hired somebody in 2018. At the end of 2018, I was like, okay, I'm really bad at this. Like, that's the term. I'm really bad at hiring people because I'm like, how hard can it be? I mean, I've been doing it myself and I'm not great at any of this
You
stuff and it's worked
one of
out.
the one of those 3, I spent, like, 2 hours on a call with. Do you even know this? Like, you said, "You need to call Tracy Spears," and she gets on with me, and we talk about, like, what my assistant does at the time, and I don't even know if you know that, but
No,
she's trying to help you from
I,
here.
I, I appreciate it. I am so grateful. Well,
That's
then I landed Sarah and Sarah's, it might have been because like Sarah's been with me 4.5 years. And
nice.
so and I went and, it's a really funny long story, but I won't take you with but the way I got her is I knew her through Learning Unlimited. I'd done subcontract work several years before with those guys and with, Rob and Mike, and she worked for him, and then, and then since I didn't trust myself, Rebecca Hartwig, I don't know if you know Rebecca Hartwig, but
Ew.
Rebecca
Love
is
her.
I'm a huge fan of Rebecca, and she had just started her business. She just left and started her own kind of around this same timeline, 2017, 2018. And we kind of knew each other from a distance. And then I needed to somebody help me. And so I reached out to her and she was a great partner, like for the first couple years. And I am a big fan of her and love her. So she helped me do that and has helped me a lot of other little business things as we've both grown along the way. So Sarah and I have been running it since 2018, and then, this past year well, Monica was in May of 2000 I had this listen, I like people, and I'm like, I miss having a little team. I miss being on a team, and so every client I get, I'm, like, embedding myself on their team. I'm like they're like, "Listen, do you work here? What's the deal?" Like, I have that tendency just to go all in, and so and I had this idea. I want to kind of because like, my history, my heart is always next gen leaders. How can I how can I position people in a way that puts them in the place of their destiny and purpose and the things that are in their heart to do? And I like that. I like doing that. Coming out working with teenagers, that was always the thing. Like, how do we position you to really become the best you can be? And so now that I'm an older man here, and I'm like, I need to get young leaders who are in their 30s now. Like, okay, I gotta figure out how to create a platform. And so that's really what I did. And both with Monica and John, who are on the team now. John has a full-time job. I always want to clarify. Still, and Shawnee's executive director of this amazing. He is in a nonprofit space. It's called Blue Zone. Monica is on my team. She does graphics and marketing. But both of them, I knew, and I've been in their lives for over a decade. Well, Monica and I hadn't seen her for almost a decade. Like I was the previous life, the nonprofit world I knew her from, hadn't seen her for a decade. But she's such a gifted communicator, smart woman, and just passionate about some really key things. And so I I was talking to a mutual friend and they told me because she'd gone through some life transitions, and I was like, what's she up to these days? And she owned a small cleaning business. I was like, that girl is gifted. And so I reached out to her. I was like, I know we haven't talked for a decade, but you're such a great communicator. What would you think about coming into this world? Because I knew her from the nonprofit. So like I knew her from that space. I'm like, I made this transition a decade ago and I've built some relationships. I've done okay with it. What if you came on and I just introduced you and like we create this thing? And so I did the same thing with John. I was like, John, I know you have this full time, but the future, someday in the future, he wants to be what we do, and really just invest in people more broadly through communication in that way. And I was like, I love you and I love your messages. His messages are crazy about he's a bridge builder and community and DEI stuff, and he's just strong. And so I'm like, I admire both of you people. I would love for you to be associated with me. And they were like, all right, let's do that. And so just last April, the new website came online that had them and brought them in. And so really, and so so I have this new mission, Tracy, where I'm like, I think every other year I want to at least enlist two people who aren't in the speaking business at all. So that's the vetting, because people are like, "Hey, Greg, I could be part of Hawk's agency," and I'm like, "Well, I got this thing. You can't be in the speaking business right now." That's the first qualifier is you can't be in the business, because I want people to come in and that we can help create holistically new experiences for through the relationships we have. And so that's a huge shift. Like it's a huge shift to go from I'm promoting marketing, trying to get business for me. Now I'm promoting marketing, trying to get business for all three of us.
Right.
And really, I want each of them, John and Monica, like, I want you to make new relationships. So when we bring a couple more new people in, we just have a wider thing that we can introduce relationships to. And so it's been inc I've been very pleasantly surprised at how it's worked so far, because
Nice.
it's with people that I currently have relationship with basically, but also there's new contacts that are already like Monica's speaking in 2 weeks, maybe it's in November, to like a middle school student council conference. I've never been in that space,
Right.
and it's a great one, and she's great, and she's so great, and just honing messages. I mean, Tracy, like literally from the time we really, and that's the other thing, like, I've got friends that I've like, hey, I want you guys to listen to this message. And so we've kind of done where Monica will come to the house. We do these scrambled Fridays where Monica and Sarah will come over and John will come over some, and I'll make scrambled eggs every Friday morning. And we'll have our team meeting, have an extended team meeting. But one of them will do like, Monica, share your message. I've got a couple people on Zoom. I'm going to listen and we're going to critique and help you. And so, like, it's
Nice.
a great little lab, if you will, to like bang around the message and go, this is going to be really great. And so they're coming out their first message like strong. And so I'm super impressed with both of them and very excited about what they're doing and super glad they're associated with me.
Nice. Listen,
Yeah,
I do think that the more we can do that and help curate and define the message, like I have always had this thought around the speaking business that it is really important to me that everybody is incredibly successful because it helps you and I, right? Like if
right.
somebody brings a speaker in and they are terrible and, like then no one's they're going to go, well, we had a speaker once and it
Yeah,
didn't work.
it
So
didn't work.
I've always thought we could all be better at helping each other in that sense. So the fact that you're throwing some lifelines to a couple of people that just need to have a little bit of support, I
Listen, it's hard to transition from the business world. It's hard to transition like to become a speaker because you start out with a lot of opportunities that don't pay you anything.
that's right.
And so it's like, how do you make that? And
That's right.
I mean, I fortunately had a good support system in that season of my life, and but for people that both of these folks is like, and those are the people I'm looking for is like, how do we make that transition? It's just kind of a catch 22. Like, well, wait, I don't have any name recognition, I don't have any credibility, and yet I have that passion and I think a message, but I haven't honed the message. I haven't got to work it out because I don't have so it's been I
I
love it. Like, I'm excited about the next decade of my life. Like, I think if, we do this 10 years from now and I have 10 people and we're all culture specialists. So that's our umbrella. They're all doing their own messages. It's not like they're taking my stuff, and it's not one of those kind of things where like I'm pitching out my things and you guys are learning how to train. If you can't have Greg, have Monica. It's like, well, you can, but they're entirely different messages. I mean, like they're their very own unique people with their own callings, their own purpose. And I'm just kind of wanting to platform that. So my goal is to have a total of 10 people, in the next 10 years and kind of pacing it where I'm learning, and then we're going to get a couple more. And so
With
that's a different model. Like, I'm not a speaker bureau and I'm not like an agency that is just pitching people. It's like, we're really a team kind of thing. And so that I love that. I personally love that. I'm like, if I can create and cultivate this kind of environment, I'm very excited about it.
nice. Well, I'll be an affiliate member of your team.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll tell you where we made our mistake is we wanted and I won't say it was a mistake, it was probably just not well thought out, is we had so many people saying, well, can we train on your material? So then they were
Right.
doing my talk and,
Yep.
it's a small community
Yeah,
and
but don't you make money? Like, isn't that? I mean, that's a whole business model. It's my
yeah,
IP, and I do
uh,
train the trainers, and
yeah.
I don't know if I don't value my content enough to be like, I want other people doing it, or I'm like, I'm just selfish and I just don't want anybody else doing it because they're my
Well,
stories and
it
it's my
does work. It does work. We have people doing it, but I'll talk to you offline more
okay.
about that because that's a big conversation, and there's just a lot of
Yep.
layers to that. And I don't want to hold our audience hostage here. I want to keep this conversation
Listen, they are loving this conversation. Are you
short.
kidding me? They're
I
like,
think
Tracy, give us more.
they're not even on anymore. They've already checked out. But said for the three or
It's
four
just
of
us. Those are the best kind of, oh, you're recording. We're just talking. That's good.
us, well, listen, for your cousins and mine that are listening in, let's keep going. Seth,
I'll make sure my mom gets it. My mom will get the link,
that'll be
Tracy. So
awesome.
I'm going to listen all the way through.
If she would just download it on Apple, that would help a lot too. So, but I do well, listen. I have a couple of things because I don't want to let you
Okay.
go without asking you this. So you're in this space now where you're landing some super big stages. You're building yourself a little team. You hired yourself a coach to get you to think even bigger.
Mhm.
So let's fast forward 3 years from now. It's December 31st, 2025.
Ooh,
What's Greg Hawkes doing in the next 3 years? What we're sitting here going, man, you crushed the last 3 years. What has happened for you?
I have. Do you talk money on this? Like, do you talk
Sure.
specific
I don't care.
money?
Let's do it. Do it.
So I talk, let's see. So I've got relational, um, So I'll have a relational goal. Let me just sidestep for a second before I answer this question. Mark, the coach, also the very first thing he wants you to do is do 10 once in 10 years. And it's not a goal, it's not a bucket list. He's like, if you're not doing something, he has a very strange phrasing. Like, if you're not doing something 90 days to 12 months, then you have to take it off the list. I'm like, that's a very long gap. And he's like, even if he's like, one of his goals is owning property in La Jolla. He said, so it's like, I bought a calendar, a lawyer. So I look at it. So he's like, it can be just as simple as that for a 10-year thing. But he's like, that's the number one thing I want you doing 10. And so that's been an interesting dynamic. So, cause I mean, I've had things that are aspirational before, but it's really given me thoughts because I both want to generate income and then give. And so like financially, let's say, okay, so 3 years.
Let me ask
uh,
you before you answer that.
Yeah.
Do you have a vision board because of that work with him?
I
Okay.
mean, like I say, we're only in 3 months. It's an Excel spreadsheet
Okay.
that, and I say it's like
I
it's a
got you.
it's a compilation, but I don't have any kind of vision because it's really like, a few of them came right away. A couple of them took me a little bit longer, and now I've got like 3 in the wings because he's like, you always have 10. So when you do one, and he said this, now he's walked like the Camino Trail 3 or 4 times. Like, he does it every other year now. So he's like, it's not even on his 10 because he's already done it. But he said, I've just this year, he finished his first 10 years of doing this. And he said, I only completed 6 of the 10. And he said that there's 2 of them that I thought I would knock out in the first year, and they're still on there. He's like, so it's an interesting dynamic on
Oh,
priorities and timing and how things go. And so, um, okay, so for me, at the 2020, so
you don't have to answer it.
I'm trying to think on 20, I'm in 2022, so my daughter will be a senior, and she's at St. Louis University. So for me, like, having her move into the career, like, that'd be one of my greatest joys is like, okay, the thing, because she's doing sociology and social work, and she took a gap year and served at a nonprofit out in Los Angeles. So work with homeless, work lower income, just really cool. Like, she just is such an admirable character. So big, and so she's at St. Louis University, and they're a great school. So 3 years she'll be your senior. So goal for me would be she would be in an internship and in a place where she has a real clear idea about um what kind of work she's going to do. My son, he's in Chicago now. He's already in it. Like, he's already achieved it. So 3 years from now, I hope he's just loving life
He
for
graduated
myself.
Tulsa University because
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah, yeah. He did an accelerated master's. So he did his undergrad in 3, and he's literally got his virtual the last semester he's in right now. He's just not enjoyed the master's part of this. He's got an MBA. And he just hasn't enjoyed that at all. And I hate that for him because he's a smart kid, bright kid, like everything's been great until he shifted to this and he's like miserable, which is just so weird. And he's in advertising where he's like, nobody cares you have an MBA. And I'm like, dude, please finish.
Yeah.
Just you're like last semester. He's like, try not to do this. And I'm like, you you have to.
Finish it.
Look,
Finish it. Yeah.
finish it. Be a finisher, man. From a dad thing, just finish it. From a business standpoint, you just don't even know how much better that'll be for you in life in the future.
That
So
means
for
that
me,
means more when you're 35, right? Like, yeah,
yeah.
you look back and it's over, and because there's so many people that waited so long to do
Yeah,
that.
he's doing it right now. Like in his field, even like, marketing, advertising, it's not necessarily a thing, like that they value. I'm like, but you're so young, and as you grow in your career, like it will bring value to you. Just your understanding, knowledge, all that, blah, blah, blah. You know how that is. Okay, so for me, 2025, I will have at least 3 other people part of Hawks agency team. So that's I'm gonna commit to. That I'll be like, there'll be 3 other culture specialists that are full time with me, that are making their pathways known. I will 3 years.
You're so funny. This is not a coaching session. You don't have to do this, but I love that
Tracy,
you're on.
I am
Love
working
that
it
you
out.
are.
I think in 3 years, I will have given, um, $100,000.
Nice.
Couple different ministries, charities, and nonprofits that I believe in. The Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma is one of my charity choices, and so a
Nice.
lot of times I'll try to donate in the state of Oklahoma. The things I'll do here locally, I'll do that, and then I still work with them every year and donate all those services. That's my charity. I just am passionate about all of their work and just so many great people, and I've got to be in relationship with them for a decade. So I think I
Nice.
want to give $100,000 in cash. Um, so that means I have to generate more money than I'm making now.
You better hope they're not listening in on this finance. They'll be like,
The regional food bank is like, if he can, that's $100,000. I'll disperse it. It'll be more dispersed.
did that check show up yet?
Yeah, because Stephanie, her CFO, is like, Greg, I heard the podcast. I'm
Right.
gonna send you invoices.
Right.
Wait till 2025. So
Yeah,
I probably
tell
will want to.
tell me about your speaking business though. What are some of the big stages? So you're going to be on SHRM. What is that? So that's a 10-year plan for you total. So like in 5 years or something. Is there anything else?
In
Kind of
3 years, no, honestly, like, I'd like to be deep. I don't have a stage like that, but I would like to be deep in industries. Like, right now, I have enough. I do a lot with credit unions, and I like that world, and I'm doing more. So in 3 years, CUNA, their national organization, so that would be a thing because I love working in that space. Like, I just have so many great relationships.
Yeah.
It's really blossomed into, like, I'm not really sure, but, like, now that I'm in it, I have a lot of different credit unions I've done. So in that space, I'd like to have relationships, in the national of CUNA. Here's another goal I have. I want to do sponsored speaking. Do you do any sponsored where somebody says, I just can't. I want to crack that code. So in 3 years, I want to have at least one sponsor where, like Paycom, they're in Oklahoma, right? They're in Oklahoma City. That's their big green building lights up the world. I'd love Paycom to say, Greg, we want you to speak at, every SHRM conference in the nation. And we want you to be a representative. You're a keynote speaker. So we tell the SHRM conference, you don't have to pay Greg anything. Paycom's paying for it. So like that kind of sponsored. I've got a couple of friends in the speaking business who have done that in different industries. And because I'm in this SHRM space so much, I'm like, I know
Yeah.
I would be of value to an organization if I was their representative. You don't have to like pitch anything. It's like you just do your normal speaking. And then I'm like, I'm going to be back at their booth after the thing. I'm in the exhibitor hall.
Yeah.
So that's a big goal of mine that I just don't know how to do. Tracy, the biggest thing I'm shifting, oh my gosh, that is just coming online literally this week. I think tomorrow. I'm not sure when this is playing or whatever, but we're doing these one big days. So I've shifted. So the thing you saw with like Case Associates, the costumes, I did the same thing with Hogan Taylor. We did these big events. So we've created a model that's a day. So I'm now just starting to well, this week we're promoting across my CEO friends that we want to replace the 1 day employee event. Like let Hawks Agency take the whole day because we've got a structure now and we've got content now and it's theme. And so and as we call it, one big day. So we've got our pirate theme, our Alice in Wonderland theme, our music theme, our adventure theme, and then our space theme. So some of the things we've already done. So we've got like some experience with it. Um, and we want to just run your whole employee event. So 100 to 500 people, like that kind of size that we can manage on 1 day. We have a morning schedule, and then the afternoon we do these rotating rooms. Tracy, they have been magical.
Nice.
Magical. Like these days. And so I'm like, I'm all in because it kind of takes me back to a youth, because the youth, it's always like, hey, I gotta keep moving, gotta keep moving. So it has these different. So, David McLaughlin, he's in Oklahoma City. He's a awesome dude, but he's shifted. Pendulum Coaching is his business now, and he's doing mindfulness, leadership. The Mindful Leader is his brand, and he's really gifted at it. But I've had him do guided meditation. So in these 30-minute rooms, so anywhere from 30 to 70 people are in these rooms at a time, depending on the size of the staff, that will rotate through. And people have gone nuts for these 30 minutes. So like we do like guided meditation. Then there's a CX kind of room we've done. Then there's like a personality room. We did disc with Case, like they did disc and go through all that. We do like a creative innovation room where there's like this card building activity. So it's a really great day.
Right.
But the meditation thing, people are going bonkers for, just love it. And so I'm very excited for him. But in this context of these days, that's why I'm trying to do 10 of those next year. That's a huge goal to do 10. Like if you do an employee event, let us just run the whole thing for you. Now you got to get the hotel and you got to foot for the decorations, but we're going to come in and be a collaborative, creative partner, and then we're going to run the whole thing. I'm very excited about that.
There's no way that doesn't go big. No way.
That's what Mark. That's Mark is like. This is, and I'm like, I love this, and I have great passion for it, and it's a shift. Literally, when I was later thinking, I was like, this is the shift. So I'm like, I'm keynote speaking still, but I want, and I'm not an event planner. I'm not an event manager. I don't want to run events. I want to do this day that we've designed and just bring it and go. If you've got an employee, we don't have to compel you to do an employee event. If you're not doing one, well, you got other issues then that I can't help.
That's
But
right.
if you're already doing one and you're like, you do one every year annually, let Hawks Agency do this next year for you, and it'll be transformative.
Oh my God.
Literally, it's transformative. So I'm very excited about that. So I want to have that. I could outsource teams like that. I would get excited about saying one big day. I got a keynote. Oh, Monica does Sound and Culture. She'll do the sound that you're in an 80s theme. I'm going to send Monica and a team to do that one. Oh, and then over here, you're doing this belonging. So John will do, that kind of thing. I could outsource because the afternoon, the rotating rooms, I already use other people for. It's like I do the keynote in the morning and work with the CEO on some stuff. And so I'm incredibly excited about that. I'm sorry, I just am bursting here at the end, but
I love that. Now, listen, so this is a good time for how can the audience find you? Because you're kind of teeing up a lot of good things. So let's talk details. How can we find
hawksagency.com, HAWKS agency.com, Hawks Agency. That's everything. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn. Have our 500 shared friends on LinkedIn, just Greg Hawks. And that's it. You go to those two places. I mean, I run around on Instagram a little bit, and then that stuff sends to Facebook. I don't do any social over there. And that's really where I hang. LinkedIn, Instagram, and my website. So we're posting stuff, I do like a weekly instigator, which is the letter I write to my friends. Like I learn something every week, and then I force myself to write something early Saturday morning, send it out Sunday morning. And I love that because it's really just a total personal. So like I'm really interested in your book because it's just all personal stuff. It's just all a personal perspective. And I've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years now. Every Saturday morning at 5 a.m. I get up and write. And so I've got content. Like it was like people were like, you should maybe put all that together. I'm like, that might be an easy first book for me.
Yeah, you should definitely do
It's
that.
just editing. It's a lot of editing.
I understand. I feel your passion.
Yeah, you can appreciate.
Well, listen, I want to say thank you for taking some time, and I am so excited for what's next for you. So as somebody that's been on the sidelines watching you and really being inspired by you, like I do follow you on LinkedIn. I see all the fun pictures. And so it'll be fun to see how one big day goes. So let's agree next time you're in Tulsa, buy me another cup of coffee and let's see how I can.
Totally. Agreed. Done.
All right, friend. Listen, thank you so much. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you feel like you got did that's what I was trying to hit you with the 3 years was your one big day. I didn't know when the one big day and like I
Literally,
thought,
and I literally just came to mind. I'm like, I thought about it. I'm like, well, shoot, this is what I want to do.
yes. So to the editor, you can delete all his 3 year goals and go right to the one big day in the next 3 years. So connect with the editor. Unless whatever you want to do. But
That sounds that's
listen,
funny.
oh my gosh. I think that's an amazing idea though, by the way. For sure.
Listen, wait till you go to it's already on our website. We already created a little web page. Like
Okay.
it's under our resources, one big day. Like I literally haven't told anybody about it yet. Monica just finished the website page yesterday.
I'll go check
I'm
it out.
excited about it. Like I'm super excited about it.
All right. Well, listen, next time you're in Tulsa, I'm going to stop the recording here so she can.
Okay.